What's up, y'all? If you are new to the YouTube, welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. My name is Bailey. I'm a health and fitness coach. I originally started sharing videos on here to talk about my miscarriage, pregnancy loss that I had at the beginning of this year, end of 2023. I talked a lot about just the initial really raw emotions with that loss. And since then I feel like I've shared, just a lot of things of how I've been taking care of myself physically with nutrition and workouts, and not that it looks totally different, but just, prioritizing those things for the season of life I'm in. But I just want to give you guys kind of an update on kind of where I've been at mentally, because I think it's important to share that, and there's still things I'm processing through. And if this catches somebody in the same space or maybe in a similar season for something unrelated, hopefully it brings you some kind of clarity or comfort, because I have found creators or content and things of people who have experienced very similar things, very similar seasons, very similar feelings, and being able to see them put words to things I'm feeling has been very helpful, and just not feeling alone in it. I feel like I've processed a lot of the initial sadness and grief and feelings of loss, but I found myself still being just kind of in a weird season of this in between. I'm in this middle place of I'm not where I was, but I'm not where I want to be, right? I had this very well thought out picture of where I thought I'd be right now and what I thought my life would look like, and that's obviously not what it is. And whether you've gone through a loss or a pregnancy loss, or maybe it's something totally unrelated, I think a lot of us can relate in the fact that we find ourselves in these seasons of being somewhere we didn't think we were going to be, right? You didn't think this is what your life was going to look like at this point, or maybe something didn't work out the way you thought it was going to, or you had this whole plan and it didn't come to fruition. I think we can a lot of the times find ourselves kind of in this gap of time where we can't go back to the way things were before because of what has happened. But what has happened has also not caused us to be where we want to be. And so it can almost feel like this period of time where we're just waiting. And I found myself perpetually falling into that mindset of feeling like I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for something. And it's been really hard to shift out of that mindset and realizing, okay, I can be in this middle, right? I can be in this in between, and I can want those things for my life, and I can have those goals and aspirations. And I cannot be where I ideally want to be, right? I can be in a situation where I don't have all the things I want to have, and I can still grow. I can still pursue things. I can still have purpose. I can still have joy and contentment where I'm at with wanting those things. And that's been something that I feel like lately I've been able to really actually wrap my head around. And a couple things that have helped me is just finding podcasts and things like that to listen to of people that I relate to, people that I feel talk through things and help me process things. That's helped me a ton. And a podcast that I've really enjoyed listening to is Jordan Dooley's, and I actually also got her book. It's called Embrace Your Almost. If you've gone through a loss, I would 10 out of 10, I was gonna say totally, I don't know why I changed my mind. 10 out of 10 suggest reading this book. But even if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're at this in-between season, or feel like you're really lost or in this unknown, this book is very eye-opening, because she talks about it from perspectives of, pregnancy losses that she's been through, but also just things with her business and professional life. And again, it's put a lot of words to things that I'm feeling that I don't think I was able to put into words, of realizing that I can still have purpose where I am, right? And I don't want to be, in the future, 6 months in the future, a year in the future, or 2 years in the future. I don't want to look back at this in-between season. I don't want to look back at this time in my life and feel like I wasted it just waiting around, right? Because my life's going to happen either way. Things are going to go on around me. Time's going to pass either way. I can't control everything. And that's a really hard thing for me to do. Is I like to have a plan. I can't always have that. I can't always control everything, right? I can't control what's going to happen in the future. To an extent, right? I can make choices to take care of myself, but I'm not in control of everything. I cannot change or control anything that's happened up to this point. But what I can control is how I choose to embrace this season that I'm in, right? I can still use this as a time to grow as an individual, grow as a person, grow as a coach to my clients. I can use this as a time to pursue passions and know that I can still want those things. But that doesn't mean that just because I don't have them this whole time in my life is a loss, right? And so that was something that really helped me. Was okay, let me take a step back and look at what are things that are going to help me find purpose right now, right? a big thing for me is I've been learning a lot of things that I didn't know about just like hormone health and fertility and women's health, and so much information and education that I'm learning and that I wish I would have had access to before. And it's like, I can use these things to serve other women. I can use these things to serve clients better, right? There's so many things you can do for your overall health and hormone health and fertility as a woman so far before like you are in a place where you want kids. And like there's so much to learn. And so that's been something that it's like, you know what, like this is a huge passion of mine that like I didn't realize before, like coaching and things like that were a passion of mine, but I'm finding different avenues and topics and things like that that I know so many women need. And so it's finding these new passions and just finding purpose in it, right? Because I feel like I'm almost disservicing what happened to me if I don't find purpose in this season. And so pouring into those things, and you know, something that this season of life really showed me was like, what's really important? What are things that really matter? What are things that I really should be and want to be, you know, pouring myself into? And a big thing that's really honestly pushed me in growing in my faith and growing in my relationship with God and pouring into that. And so those have been things that have helped me, I think, find some kind of purpose in a time in life where I felt very, very lost. And just understanding that there can be purpose in crap situations, and sometimes things that set us back are things that are setting us up for something in the future, even when we can't see it. And you can still be upset about the way things happened or what happened. It can still be something that makes you sad or feels unfair. Like that loss sucks. Like, for lack of more eloquent speaking, like it sucked. I don't see why it had to happen. It's frustrating. Like it just sucks, right? But I can have that. Like I can have those feelings and still find purpose and know that there's something for me in the future. And honestly, that then leaning in my faith, that's been something that's really been helpful. It's just like recounting times in my life where I had this very detailed plan or way I thought things should go or were supposed to go or needed to go, and they turned out so different than what I had planned. And the way that they turned out was always what I needed so much more. It was always so much sweeter. It was always so much better. And in those moments, I felt lost. I felt upset. I felt angry at the way things were going. I didn't understand why they were happening that way. And now, you know, years in the future, I can look back retrospectively and be like, okay, that's why that happened, you know? And I know that there's going to be a time in my life where I can look back at this like situation and I can understand that things happen the way that they need to. And I may always have questions about this, but I can see how those times have happened, and looking back on that has helped give me perspective for now. Like, this is going to work out because it always has. Like, the things in your life have always worked out. And if you're in a place right now where it feels like everything's crumbling around you and things are just not going the way that you want them to go, they are going to work out. And his plan is so much greater than ours. And like, I was talking to my friend, and honestly a really good example of this was in college. Like, my basketball career in college did not go the way I would have ever planned it to go. And it seems so insignificant now, but like, in that moment, like, that was my life. Like, basketball was what I was pouring everything into. It was like the most important thing to me. Like, I was literally pouring blood, sweat, and tears and all of my time into this thing. And it did not go how I thought it needed to go at all. But because it didn't go how I thought it should, it brought me to friends that have been, that will be and still are like friends of mine. They will be lifelong friends of mine and like have influenced so many areas of my life. Like, they are my closest friends. They have helped me grow my relationship with God. Like, they have pushed me in so many areas of life. And like, I would have never had those relationships with those people if it would have gone according to my plan, right? And in the moment, at the beginning, it felt like that plan really sucked a lot more than mine, but it worked out so much sweeter. And so recounting on those things of like, you know, times where that's happened, or times where I thought there's no possible way that this is going to work out, and they always did, has brought me a lot of reassurance in this moment of like, I know it's going to work out. I know things are going to be okay. And so I'm in a place now where instead of choosing fear, instead of being worried, instead of looking back at the past, I'm making a conscious decision to choose hope for my future and look at how can I grow as a person now so that when I get to that future, I am my best self, right? When we have our kid, our first kid here with us, like, how can I be the best version of me to be the best mom to them? And just really focusing on those aspects. So if you're in a season of in between, if a not quite and almost, something didn't work out, you feel like you're in this really weird middle season of life, I get it. It can be really hard to explain. I feel like they're really hard emotions to put words to, and it can feel really like helpless, and you can feel really lost. And it's just a reminder, and this is the reminder that I needed, that even if you're not where you want to be, even if things didn't work out, even if you're in this middle season, you can still be happy. You can still find joy in life. You can still find so much purpose where you are. It may just need to look a little bit different than what we thought it was going to look like.